Sirens wailed throughout south and central Israel as another Houthi missile sent people into bomb shelters. Israel successfully intercepted the missile. To stop those missiles, the U.S. is continuing its daily campaign to eliminate the threat by the Houthis against Israel and global shipping in the Red Sea. The U.S. says a key Houthi leader has been eliminated. In Gaza, Israel's ground operation is widening. The IDF also eliminated a major Hamas leader. Israel also destroyed more than 100 white pickup trucks throughout Gaza. Hamas terrorists used those trucks in their massacre on October 7th. In the UK, a joint commission of British parliamentarians released a landmark report about October 7th. It concluded, the atrocities committed by Hamas and allied groups on 7 October marked a day of unprecedented violence. There are numerous accounts of deliberate killings, hostage abuse, sexual violence, and desecration of both the living and the dead. The goal behind the report is to combat denial of what happened on October 7th, just like some people deny the Holocaust. During a stalemate in hostage negotiations, Hamas released another propaganda video. It shows two Israelis pleading with another hostage who was freed to speak out about how hard the conditions are in captivity. U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff says he blames Hamas for the collapse of the hostage talks. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar says there is a way the war can end immediately.
The war can end tomorrow with releasing our hostages, the demilitarization of Gaza, and the withdrawal of the armed Hamas and Islamic Jihad forces from there. War is not an ideology. We would be happy, and we will be happy, to achieve our aims by diplomatic means. But if that is not possible, we have no choice but continuing our military efforts.
Israeli media is reporting Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer will lead a delegation to Washington in the coming days. He will urge the Trump administration to set a timetable on President Trump's maximum economic pressure campaign on Iran to end its nuclear weapons program. Israel expects once an agreed time period expires, alternative decisions would be made, presumably a military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
All right, thank you, Chris. Gordon, back over to you.
Well, these are certainly interesting days in that sort of, Chinese proverb. Some call it a curse, some call it something wonderful. May you live in interesting times. We certainly are. And whether you look at Ukraine and the reframing of that war and the escalation by Russia at the same time, they're telling our administration, oh, we're ready for peace. We want to sit down for peace talks. But then they go and attack the capital of Ukraine. It just, you go, what in the world's going on? Here you have the Houthis, they're firing missiles at our ally, Israel. They're also firing against our own naval ships. But then you hear, and if this Chatgate messages are accurate, you're hearing our own vice president say, well, we shouldn't do it because we're bailing out Europe, and Europe depends more on the Suez Canal than we do, and if they want to keep that open, they need to, pay their fair share of the military burden. But both cases ignore the real things that are happening on the ground, and you literally can't. As citizens are being killed in Ukraine, you can't try to justify the Russian invasion. The same time as the Houthis are firing against our own naval vessels, it is high time for us to respond. And I do applaud the president for taking a tough stand here. He definitely has overruled his vice president. No, we're going after the Houthis. We're going after all the proxies of Iran, and we're also going after Iran. Let's name the reality on the ground for what it is. Iran is the largest sponsor of terrorism, state sponsor of terrorism in the world. And let's hold them accountable for these horrible attacks against Israel, the threats they have against us, against Europe, and let's say no. In the world today, you don't get to have a nuclear weapon. You don't get to be a state sponsor of terrorism and get away with it. You don't get to shut down shipping. You don't get to do these things, and you don't get to hold Israel hostage by threatening them with nuclear war. This won't happen on our watch, and we need to make sure that everyone in the administration and everyone in Congress understands our resolve, that we stand with Israel, we stand against Iran, we stand against Qatar and its funding of Hamas. These things should not happen under our watch.
Are miracles real? Let's investigate.
A lot of skeptics will say, well, miracles are impossible. Why? Because they violate the laws of nature. You can't violate the laws of nature.
I looked at my hand that was clutched. I said, hand move.
We got the 2125.
Hallelujah! He's dead. It's over. I said, shock him one more time.